What's up everyone, this is Cher talking and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we'll be talking about Romancing Festival Emelia banner, the first part of a double banner that brings a Prefecture collaboration from JP, now in global and being used as a second year anniversary celebration. Well, there are 4 characters, Emelia, Alkaiser, Zeke and Mei-Ling. They offer very different stuff, and this banner can be good for those that have been saving gems and want more value out of their pools. We start talking about Emelia first, and there are 5 different versions of Emelia inside the game. Only one is platinum, this one called I've Got Your Back. Then we got the first limited called I'll Never Forgive You. Then there was a Lethal Commando shortly after we got Is This a Job Too? That is a Global X. And there's Onsen Manju, the current one we can summon for. Let me tell you, both Is This a Job and Lethal Commando will still be relevant even with the release of Onsen Manju. They do a little different things and their status are not so different, to be honest. First of all, STR does not matter for a gunner. They get a little more accuracy, but this one would not affect much. The endurance is pretty similar between all the releases. The dexterity now is much higher with 107%. That is at least 9% more than her global version. Then there is an agility with 81%, being pretty similar to the past releases. The intelligence is inferior, so she's not a good character to wield inheritances from Global X. That debuffs agility. The will is a little better with 92%, and love and charisma are much higher because she actually can heal. Onsen Manju has 1 arrow for dexterity, double arrows for agility and bonuses on both because she focuses on these 2 things, but also will, love and charisma. The good thing is that those 2 status are easy to build. You don't really need to focus on having another ones, but in fact Lethal Commando has double arrows for dexterity and you can just switch between them if you have for status farming. Now the first passive that we have is Breath of Invigoration 1. That gives her a very small healing and 1 more BP when she attacks. So yet another character has access to 4 BP when attacking on a third. That's pretty amazing, especially for boss fights where we can have access to better cycles. Then we have Conceal, the second passive. When all allies are surviving, evades attacks towards self with a 50% chance. This is something we saw before with other characters like Doll, that's also a good user. She has that, Conceal. And here, another character was Madeline. Madeline also has it with this version. Conceal. This is actually good because right now we can have up to 37% chance to evade without any other need. This one has the need of everyone being alive, but it increases up to 50. I think that she's not exactly a character that you're gonna use on the front line all the time to try to bring an evasion strategy, but it will help because she's a healer. Being a healer, if she doesn't get a hit as often, will allow her to work better. Then the last one is called High Battle Tension, increasing damage by 20% and getting 1 more BP on the start of a fight. So she starts with 11, has 20% increase in damage, 50% chance to negate all types of attack when she and everyone is alive, and gets 4 BP and a small healing every turn that she attacks. Nice. For our skills, the first one is called Sharp Shot Plus. This one is very similar to Daringer from her older style. This one here. It's the same modifier, but with only 1 BP cost, so it's an upgrade. And this one attack here is kind of free if you compare to other gun users that only have 3 BP by a turn. She's only using 1 and still getting 3. Very nice for the damage and the cost. The second one is called While Wielding Wild Shot. For 7 BP, she gets an AoE blunt attack with BP power and 21 modifier. If you think about this, 7 BP is already nice because we have characters like Urpina, for example, and she has an AoE attack from her Christmas style that is Mirage Blade Plus, has 22 modifier for 8. This is already good, it's already strong. So now we have 21 for 1 BP less, and with a character that gets 4 BP by a turn, that's nice. She didn't even need High Battle Tension to assure that she could just use Dual Wild Shot on turn 1 and on turn 2, since she gets 1 BP by attacking. So the damage is good by itself, but because she only has 20% increase in damage right now, she may not do as much as you think. But in the future, we'll get craftable weapons where the damage passives of a character will not matter as much as right now. But her cycle is nice, she can go twice here, but she's lacking a sheep AoE. We'll talk more about that later. Then the last attack is called Sweet Hit. This one is another blunt attack with double S power and 53 modifier. Usually this type of modifier costs only 8 BP to use, but it has two effects. The first one, she recovers all surviving allies by very small effect. Remember, she does have very high glove and also good charisma. What this will do is trigger her heal twice, one, and then again, because of Breath of Invigoration, she's gonna heal for around 320 or something, and then she's gonna heal the whole party for around 150. That is good by itself. We just got a character like Vampire Lady that can heal 3 times, but not the whole party. It does not have a reliable source. But then she also cleanses everyone from status ailments. She is only the third character capable of doing that. The first character was Halloween Princess White Rose, and she's a meta character used in mini boss fights. She can do that by Princess Pumpkin Party. That is a fully supportive skill. Then there is another character that is Snowy. Snowy is a meta character too, very important, and he can cleanse with Glowing Heart, a fully support skill that does not do damage but can use it anytime because it's only 3. Now we got Emelia, and Emelia does damage. That is the difference between the characters, and she also recovers a little of HP of the squad. So there will be times where you may want to prefer to bring Emelia, but maybe you're also bringing Princess White Rose. I don't know. It will depend on the type of boss you're fighting against. She works super well if you have one version of Matriarch, that is the latest one, that has Leading the People as a subtitle. She gets Speed of Peace that buffs Dexterity, Will, Love, and Charisma. If you are fighting against a boss that uses magical attacks, you are increasing your will to receive land status ailments, but that may not be enough. You may still need to clean sometimes. And then you are also getting Dexterity that increases the damage of Emelia. Love and Charisma increases the healing, so you are buffing her to the max potential. She's not the only character that benefits from this. Also on this video I'll talk about another one, that is Zeke, but they work well together. If you are facing a boss that does magical damage, she already has high will and will benefit so much from Peon of Peace. This will be something that will happen in future events. So you have 4 BP by a turn. That means that most of the time you can use this every 2 turns. You can also just do a little more damage with Sharp Shot, but I may still skip a 1 BP attack so that I have more chances of a heal. Depending on the situations, if you get like 4 peanut pieces in a row, you'll be healing for around 320 to the whole squad, and to herself it will be 600 or something. I believe that her design is much better than Vampire Lady because of this. So now, what do we have here? You can just leave her for farming as well if you want. She's gonna use Wild Shot in events. She can do that by herself, but if you are farming on story mode with 3 waves, you're gonna need a weak or sheep AoE to attack on the turn. That is something that you can acquire from this version of her. That is Total Shot. That's a deep power attack that can be used because she gets 4 BP all the time, and she starts with high battle tension. That means that, yeah, she has a full AoE cycle. Sweet Hit is an attack that helps in boss fights, but for farming is not so important. At least if you don't have this version of Emelia, you can still get something like Sweet Trap from the Bride version, or the attack called Bullet Dance twice in a row if you want. But that doesn't help much because this style still kinda does similar damage, even having lower dexterity. She has a dexterity buff on the start of a round, so they are just doing different stuff, but the damage output is probably too close. And the Global X version is still relevant because she's a debuffer and has the highest intelligence. So see that having all versions of Emelia will increase the utility of the character, but this character does have a good cycle anyway. if you are using her for boss fights, that's more likely what you're going to use. We have better AoEs like T260G, we just got it's stronger for AoE, we'll get more options for blunt, but for new accounts, she still works pretty fine. Just don't expect too much high power damage. Emelia is well designed, and because she cleanses and heals for new accounts, it will be very nice, but for veterans too, if they have Peon of Peace inheritance. She is a good option for those that skip it snowy, because you'll now be able to cleanse with a different setup, but still, she will be receiving a high double S grade in our tier list, but still is a little more skippable than some other of the recent options like Snowy. Snowy still is the best character if you can compare them both. It will still bring more utility in boss fights. One last thing about Emelia, she gets a future style in JP, but this one is different. She uses martial arts weapons, and it kinda clashes a lot. To be honest, you don't even need to consider her, because the gun skills will do much less damage with this version. This one is a martial arts attacker, and we rely on STR and agility instead of dexterity. We don't use dexterity with martial arts units. She can still use the gun skills, but it's just not so nice to interchange. This version will have a very powerful nuke from start, but the good thing is that they are both blunt attackers. You can still use them on the same type of content, just in different formations and in different setups. But it's a very good character. You will just be trading one for two different things. The next character is Alkaiser, and Alkaiser is complicated to see on this list because Alkaiser is his transformed form, but he's also red. So by the name of red, we have at least 3 styles. This one is platinum, this one here was limited, and this one is a global X. And then now we'll talk about Alkaiser. The good thing is that we have this one being platinum, this other one is also platinum, this one on the top is now a global X free that you can get in the next event. And I'll also mention it shortly, but I'll make a special video for him too. This is the one that we consume him for. It is a nice comparison. If you compare to the free one, you can see that it has much higher STR, 110% for both STR and agility. We can even choose red here to compare. Red had 99 for agility and only 9 is for STR. His damage is being very limited to recent day because of characters being released with much more damage passives and status. So let's return to Alkaiser, and this guy here doesn't have such a high endurance, 78 only, dexterity is not used on martial artists, and intelligence is only 40. He can debuff by use of submission that will be amplified in the future, but he's not exactly the best one. But if you are using him with the Peon of Victory buff, maybe he will land after being buffed. Then Will is 76, as you can see, very similar values for both physical and magical, and his love is on 62 with charisma is on 38. He's also a healer, but a very different one. Let's click here so we can check all the styles that we have. The first thing you notice is that he has double arrows for STR, 1 arrow for agility, so it's still good to have the other one so that you focus on buffing and increasing your agility too. The free one also increases love, so the love is even better, but I have to tell you that this healing is so overpowered that you will not need to buff or increase love. Now let's return to this version of him. The first passive that you see is called Tenacity. Attack damage increases by 10% and he will revive once. This is important and I'll explain a little more later. He revives only once with 50% of his HP. At least it has 2 effects, still increasing damage. The second one is called Strengthened Energy 2. Attack damage increases by another 10% and he starts the fight with 12. See that he's stacking 2 effects in his passives, and then fired up 6 increases by 30. So a total of 50% increase in damage, 1 revive passive, starts the fight with 12. That is already important because the past version of Red starts with 12 too, and he has access to some very nice setups that I'll talk about later. First of all, we have the skill called Sparkling Road. This one costs 5 BP only and does blunt and sun damage for 8 power and 35 modifier. It's pretty high already. Usually 5 BP skills would reach B power, now some can reach A. Well, they're starting with S power, but starting is an exception. So having 2 elements is nice. Also remember that having very high agility allows him to evade, can be used on a agility position, doing damage there. It's pretty nice. The second skill is called Final Crusade. This is his selling point, to be honest. This one is a very good skill. Will be useful now, in the future, and also in a future specific event where you have to use specific weapon types. Final Crusade makes him a healer, and he's actually a martial arts unit. If you have to just use martial arts units, you are breaking the rules, healing with a character that's not a normal staff user. With Final Crusade, he will heal everyone and also revive. It's not like Mirza, but it comes with a huge price. 3 LP. 6 BP is a low cost. It was even changing for global. So that's not the problem. 3 LP means that he can only use it once, and then he will not be able to use it again, ever. The good thing about this is that the heal is overpowered. It's S power of healing, meaning that he will heal everyone no matter what, to max HP. There's one good thing here as well. Remember when you are facing a boss and one character just dies and you are bringing buffers too, he loses all buffs, and then on the next turn he gets killed again because he's not protected. Good thing, Red gives guard up medium for 3 turns for everyone too. So even that character that died and got revived will still receive less damage. So that is the selling point, allowing you to revive without having the penalty of a dead weight that lost buffs and could not survive. Yeah, you still lose your normal buffs, but guard up medium may protect the character, especially depending on your formation. So Final Crusade is important. Going forward, there's one more version of him that I will show you later, and just makes him relevant for the future. We can also compare this to Ring of Life, that is not as overpowered, but still usually recovers full HP, but does not have the effect. But Ring of Life can be used twice. He's not exactly a main healer, but this adds a volume into a character that can be used in boss fights. And also for normal damage, remember this guy has 50% increase in damage. Then the last attack is called Son of Phoenix. For 12 BP, he goes for an AoE attack that does blunt and stun with A power 28 modifier. 28 modifier is pretty similar to other attacks. We have Rapina with something similar. You can even compare it here with her Christmas style. Actually, it's even higher, 32. But there are other characters with similar, like Emperor. Emperor has a 28. It's not here, but it is. And so it's not much higher than we already have. It's just the same as some old units, losing to Rapina. And he already may do a little less than some other competition characters because he's a martial arts unit. When you are using him for farming and you place him on a Rainbow Ranger's position, for example, you get 50% increase into agility, but he needs both SDR and agility. That means that he does not get a full bonus like SDR characters that are sword users, for example, when they are placed on SDR position. So it's still powerful, very powerful. Having double elements is nice. Sun is already a little overcrowded, but blunt is nice. We need more options as well. There's only one problem here. When you look, he has a strong AoE. He has a good single target, but he doesn't have a nuke. He doesn't have follow-ups after using Son of Phoenix. Everything can be fixed by the way that you inherit stuff. Like in this event, there is this new version of him, the Hero Dilemma, that gets Punishing Fist, a C power attack that can be used 3 times in a row since he gets 12 BP. That's nice. It also comes with All Phoenix. This attack here is actually also available in his first Alkaiser version, and it's now amplifiable. And it's amplifiable too fast. Double S power, 49, like I said before, 8 BP for double S power is pretty nice because most characters can use on turn 1 and on turn 3. That will be the same case for him. Fast with martial arts, it's not so essential because they are already agile by themselves, usually going first, and you can fix it easily by placing them on agility position for Rainbow Rangers. But you can now place him, for example, on SDR and make him go first while you have another character to go on the agility position so that he works well on farming too, for stages where you have 3 waves. Yeah, an opener that's good, well, could be better for the damage. And there is also another option. If you have red, you can go for punishing combo. That is a 3-hit attack that deals very good damage, can also clear some waves that cannot be cleared by other characters. But recently we did get some other options that are even better than punishing combo because of the status distribution or damage passives. But if you compare to the past version of red, he only had 30% increase in damage with lower status. Now punishing combo will do much more damage with him. Another case that can be said is Hummingbird's inheritance. Remember that this version of red was very powerful and could evade many times and just solo some content. Now he has higher agility, so he can evade even better. But the very best version of red or Alkaiser that can't evade is the next one from JP, but more into that later. But these are kind of the options. You have a stronger nuke with single target, that's punishing combo, that he can use that, and then he would just simply use normal attack and then go for spectrum rotation. Or you can use the other attack that's fast and then place it in another position, use him with other fast units. He's not the best farmer that you can find, but he works pretty well and it's easy to slot for farming scenarios. So now let's give a look on his future JP version. So here we are on our SaGa website, and this is the future version of him. It's pretty far from release, like 10 months or so. This one will have higher status, of course, and the other things don't matter too much. But what matters is that he also starts the fight with 12. Also has good passives like 20% increase in damage. It also reduces damage. He's a little more sturdy, but carries a very nice attack called Kaiser Double Impact, and he also gets 4 BP by a turn. So this attack buffs his agility twice, so he gets 25% increase in agility and again 25% increase in agility, so that he is an evasion machine that can work in some content. And it's also double damage, as you can see here is Sun and Blunt, so he has a very interesting future where he barely takes damage and can evade well. And if you want to get this version, you also want that Final Crusade. This one is a very nice skill that will be relevant in the future. So Alkaiser is also a double S character because he works well, he does have a direction, it's not exactly that good as a farmer just like Emelia, but does well and perform well. If you are a new player, getting access to the free version will already give you at least a full AoE cycle with Punishing Fist, also give you one fast attack by Real Phoenix. As you can see here, it's only APP, so it is a very good value for starting accounts. For all the players, I still believe that going for this Final Crusading is interesting, but you do you, see if you need that. If you skip it, Snowy is another reason to summon on this banner because Snowy heals and Alkaiser heals while Emelia cleanses. Oh, and one thing, if you don't want to summon for Alkaiser now, you do have an option in the future for a martial arts user that can heal, and that is Goddess. Goddess starts with an interesting style that has this Goddess Heart for 1 BP only, but 4 LP. She has a fast heal that heals a lot. By power, it's not higher than Alkaiser, but it's good enough, and also removes all abnormalities. I think that it cleanses everything, but also removes debuffs. Not entirely sure, but the power is pretty high, as you can check here on SaGa, and see, it's already enough to heal 2 max. She's not exactly like red, but it's a competition for the future, so if you don't get Alkaiser, don't be so sad, you have another one that can replace. Now the next character is Mei-Ling. We have now 3 different versions of Mei-Ling. The A style is Platinum, this Alone in Such a Night is also Platinum. Now we have the first limited one, called Like Footbaths Too. And this one has much higher status because it's the first premium. We have 59 entries, pretty high compared to the other one, only 37. She has 100% dexterity, and that is important because she's a higher unit. She's a mage that carries guns and has also gun attacks. 91% agility is pretty nice for a mage, and 105% intelligence. She is a hybrid unit without losing too much because they just made her SCR pretty bad. So we have a focus on dexterity, agility, intelligence, and some goodwill as well. Love and charisma are nothing to write home about, and she can heal, but it will not be so amazing. Well, she will still be able to help out if you need a second healer. Well, we have 1 arrow for dexterity with bonuses on that, and her bonuses comes from agility later, not for intelligence. And then when you compare to the platinum style, you can get a little more agility here, but she's already focused on intelligence, with only the A style having a focus on dexterity for status farming. Now, the first passive is called Raging Spirit 2. This is when she lands an attack, it buffs her dexterity and intelligence by a large effect. This is an amazing thing that we've seen some very specific units. Well, she can do something similar to them, but she's not then. They are Zosma. It's a debuffer, and he gets something similar, but in this case is STR and intelligence. He deals damage and debuff, that's why he needs both. Another one is Monica, another recent character, and Monica also gets very good value because she increases dexterity, the damage status, and intelligence, the status that affects her performance for debuffs and status elements. That is not exactly the same case with Mei-Ling, but it's similar. Let's say that you are using, well, this attack that debuffs agility and it's a gun attack, so yeah, it increases both things, but a mage does not need dexterity, so there is some conflict here, but it's more because of the way that the character works. It uses guns, so needs both dexterity and intelligence, even though you may not use the gun skills or just focus on the spells. But by 20%, it's already nice enough. There are characters that just get 1 status with 20% increase. She's getting both, so it's already a bonus. Not many other competition on this regard. Then the second one is called Vivify 5. On the end of the turn, she gets 25% chance of getting 5 VP. 5 VP, that's nice, right? And it kind of reminds me a little of what they did with Acelus. It makes sense because Acelus' evil form has a passive that gets 3 BP and has a medium chance to trigger, so she also gets all status buffed. So they removed its status buff and increased the BP to 5. That is nice if you're on a boss fight. That 5 BP can help you do something like some of her attacks, but later. Further up, 6 increases her damage by 30%. It's the only damage passive. So in the end, she gets 30%, buffs her dexterity and intelligence, and has a chance to get 5 BP. It's pretty simple, right? Then for skills, the first one is called Random Shot Plus. It's an amplifier over the old random shot. The good thing is that she can use this 3 times in a row, but only on metal. She will try to prefer another attack if she goes for magic, because it has Heat Wave Plus. But let's focus here first. C Power 16 modifier is already pretty cool for 5 VP. It's insane, especially because she is a gun user. If you are playing on metal and she's one of your characters, like say in Spiral or anything, the damage would be nice, especially with 100%. It's not something to, well, really shines, but it's good enough. For 5 VP, 5 times in a row, nice. Then there is Heat Wave Plus. Like I said, on auto, she always tries to go for Heat Wave because it overwrites, unless you increase random shot to 6, but if you do, you will not be able to use 3 times in a row. But let's say you are on a normal event with only 2 waves, you can choose between the two. I want mage attack with Sun and Heat, you go for Heat Wave Plus. The good thing is that this is an amplifier over the old Heat Wave. Now it has a chance to debuff agility. Because she self-buffs intelligence, she will just increase the damage and also the chance to apply this agility debuff. You need agility buffs in many boss fights because sometimes you have a boss that has such a high agility that some of your attackers may just miss, or they have attacks that are based on martial arts that she will decrease, or you can just try to evade spells. There are multiple reasons why we debuff agility in the game. 5 VP is not the best thing. We do have characters that debuff agility at lower cost, like we have Wicked, Witch Daughter. Witch Daughter has Aerodyne with 3 BP. There's also Bune. Bune also debuffs with 3 BP with the same spell, Aerodyne. And there is also Princess White Rose, Halloween Edition. And they all debuff agility. And the reason why we use them is that we can spend it more and more. Princess White Rose uses 4, but she's just pretty close. Now Mei-Ling uses 5. 5 is not so bad, to be honest, but it's also not so good. You can use this 3 times in a row, but at least she does have this Vivify 5 that may trigger here and there, allowing her to don't stop debuffing agility, but that brings RNG into play. But because she does not just debuff agility, that's actually not so bad if you are a starting player that didn't get access to the characters I just mentioned. But Witch's Daughter is a recent unit and performs this role better, although it's only one element. Here we have Sun and Heat. Okay, for the last attack we have Radiant Shower. This one is now a gun attack, so it's based on dexterity, and there is also a chance to debuff agility. Her agility is nice, so she's probably going before the enemies to debuff, and intelligence is pretty nice too, so it's an AoE attack that do damage and debuff. B power 21, like we saw, it's nice for damage, and she can use that on turn 1 and turn 3 for some people still missing some farmers. And in boss fights more when you are fighting against multiple enemies, because 8 PP is too prohibitive, the debuff value is the same as Heat Wave, and it's more for, yeah, farming or multiple bosses on the same time. So these are the things that she have by base, but you can inherit from her other styles, and the first thing that you may think about is Solar Shot. Look, Solar Shot is an attack with 10 BP, and this one buffs sun damage. I remember it being 10%, but correct me if I'm wrong, for sun attackers, and it's not that bad if you have a full damage party that do sun as attack. But it also brings Blunt as a single target, so if you want to use her for farming, she can also open with single target for only one wave, but it's the only way that she can do single target here. All the other options are AoE. She's an AoE bot. The other good inheritance may be Healing Light, because if you want to use her on a boss fight to debuff agility, and then you may need emergency heal, the good thing is that it only costs 3, and she will always have this available. I don't think the SaGa is just so important, but if you need slash damage with a mage, this can also work. The other inheritance is Sharp Shot, that is just now amplified to Sharp Shot Plus, but yeah, I don't know if you need this as much as you need to keep debuffing agility, but if you think that is a good idea to just cycle between, you know, a 5 BP attack and then a 1 BP attack, it may work, but healing is a much better inheritance. So this is Mei-Ling. I think that she's the weakest link of the banner, because what she can do can be done by many other characters. She's not the best agility buffer, she's not the best AoE farmer, she's not the best healer. So it does help new accounts that are missing agility buffers, but for veterans they can skip Mei-Ling easily, even though she has this very nice passive that buffs dexterity and intelligence. Her cycles are not reliable because of a lot of RNG, and she can be skipped with very easy. Although she will be a double S range, she will receive one that's lower in our tier list. And now the last character is Zeke from Above the Fireworks. This character here is new, and I'm pretty excited about it because it's unique. Well, this is I don't know, an airship. It has a very different setup for boss fights. First of all, we have very good endurance with 95%, will is 82, so it's a character that can sustain some damage. Have 102% dexterity, not the highest one. We can see characters with 110%. Agility is also not bad, so you can use it on even evasion if you want, but not the best one too. The other status don't matter. It doesn't use STR, and well, love and charisma are not important here. What makes this character different, it's a robot, so it will cleanse on the end of turn like most robots, and also recover a little HP, around 140s or something. But the selling point is this passive here called Scrum Guard. When all allies are still surviving, reduces damage by 20%. This is extremely important in hard challenges. We know that because the character that we use all the time, that is Final Impress, has this version of her, call it at Victory Celebration, has Scrum Guard, and this just changes everything. When you are on a fight and you see that, well, you are not healing as much as you receive damage, Scrum Guard can just make this difference smaller. And there are formations like Tigers then that already decreases the damage that you receive. You use Scrum Guard to decrease it even further, bring buffs, morale, up, guard up, or defense enhancement to just receive less and less damage to survive. Bosses do more and more damage as time flies, and having sustained survivability strategies are nice. But if Empress already have, and Empress is such a good character, why do you need Zeke? Well, before we just go there, let me talk about the other character that also has strong guard, and that is Jorg. Jorg is kind of old now because Empress does everything Jorg does, but better. He does have strong guard, but he doesn't have good status. There is a little of a, I don't know, hybrid thing with him, in that it's just loses focus. And he also has a less access to heal. So both Jorg and Empress heal and protect. Empress needs inheritance to heal, but still, it's available to some people. The other thing is that Empress has Imperial Shield. This is an amazing skill that allows you to survive one full turn without taking damage. You can use this twice in a fight, and it's just important now, will be important in the future, and forever in the game. Everyone that has Final Empress already knows. But you can use them together. All of them, even if you want. Strong Guard stacks. It's not additive, it's multiplicative, so it's not 20 plus 20 is 20, and then you just get decreases 20% again. So there are also stones, there is guard up, there are a lot of things that you can use that stacks, but not in the normal way. You cannot get 0 damage unless you buff your normal status to very high standards. But there are applications where Zeke will be better. But I need to explain this a little later, but Strong Guard is already good enough and a reason enough to summon for Zeke, in my opinion. I know that because Zeke does not fully replace Empress, but works beside her or in different setups. Then we have the last one, called High Counter Tension, increasing damage by 20%, and when he counters, he gets 30%. So we have 50% on total when countering, but only 20 at all times. May seem not so high, but this character has some very powerful skills. We also heal and cleanse all the time. The cleanse is important because if you get like paralyzed, you lose the defense buffs, and then he can just get a lot of damage. Sadly, it's only on the end of a turn, but still an okay thing. That happens in most robots in the game. Now, for skills number 1, we have Intercept System. This one makes him enter an evasion stance where he counters with C power 18 modifier. Well, it's not so high, but it's an evasion counter stance, meaning that it will negate the damage. With 5 EP means that you can use this 3 times in a row. And we do have a higher damage when counter-attacking. Both blunt and hit means that it will work in more scenarios. And you can use Tiger Shark formation, and it gets dexterity increased in the front line, so it works well for counter, but it will depend on scenarios because it's more for enemies that attack multiple times than just, you know, that boss that attacks with a lot of AoE. It's a little more situational than the other things. The second skill is called Kamikaze Crush. For 6 BP and 1 LP, this is important. He goes for double S power attack with 48 modifier. 6 BP for 48 is not hard. It's just a very powerful attack with a cost of 1 LP. But Zeke is different than Empress. Empress can keep the fight going. Zeke has a strong guard to decrease the damage potential from bosses, but he does prefer to nuke in a smaller number of turns, in my opinion, because he does not have the shield, for example. So it's nice because it can just keep doing damage instead of Empress that takes a little more time to do, but she still does very well with Quadruple Moon Strike. But it's blunt, and Empress is slash. You can already see where I'm going. They don't exactly clash. You may still one hit if the enemy is only weak to blunt. Then the last attack is called Barrage Program. For 10 BP, what we have here is a random attack between 2 to 4 hits with blunt and hit again. It's a little too costly, yes. 2 to 4 hits. The good thing is that because it's a gun user, the damage calculation is better than some other weapons. But if you only get 2, 10 BP is too much. I guess you can just believe in Kamikaze Crush and use it. If you die, the fight may be a little screwed already, and then the LP cost is nothing for you. So use it without too much cautions. This character has good endurance and goodwill. It can just, well, do damage, and you are probably using Zeke in a defensive formation already, so the LP cost is not a problem. And one good thing that you can do, and I already said that because of Emelia, is combo him with Matriarch, because this third version of Matriarch buffs 4 things that benefits. Dexterity for damage, will to decrease magical damage and also not be inflicted with debuffs and status augments. Love and Charisma does not affecting much, but by buffing Dexterity and Will, if you are facing a boss that's weak to Blunt, for example, and those magical attacks, well, Zeke will just get more damage. You can wait for the first 3 turns and then start buffing, and on turn 4 you have 19 BP, and then you unleash Kamikaze Crush many times in a row. The damage will be good, and I have to tell you that in some events where the enemy is both weak to Blunt or Slash, Zeke will out damage Final Impress easily, but he does not heal, he does not replace Impress, he's not better than Impress is much better, but Zeke does have a placement in the future hard challenges in boss fights. So yeah, this was the last character. He also received the double S grade. The thing here, guys, it's just that the characters they are releasing are always on pair or better than the past one. That's the reason why we cannot just give a low score now, but we do have to revisit the tier list and decrease a lot of characters. I am working on that, but it's a little hard. It will be updated in the following days, but I'm working, and we just got a new generation of characters with Monica's banner, and from here on out it will be hard to decide. These characters will hardly be bad, they will just fill a different role, they will sometimes be side rates. At least in the case of Zeke, he is unique, and that's why I want to get him in Alkaiser. In this banner, there's 2 characters that are very interesting. Zeke does get a future style as well. This is his future style. He gets released in a banner with 10 different robots. That's too much. 10% chance of getting a new robot. But this version of Zeke is a little underwhelming. He does have a way to increase his agility, and he also has some different cycles, like you see here. Now he has a 6 BP version of a powerful attack, but it also costs LP, so you can have interesting inheritance. He also has Proton Rocket, that is an attack that is instant killable in our version of the game, but he doesn't have the intelligence, but hits well for roll. So I think that it just adds a little more inheritance and cycles for Zeke, but it's not like he needs to look too much in the future. We need to see now if Zeke offers much, and I do believe yes. Now, returning to the banner image, is this banner worth summoning for? I have to say that yes, it is. But we still have to consider if you are a newcomer or if you are a veteran and what you are expecting from this banner. Alkaiser brings now an utility to a character that was just damage dealer and will work well on the future event called Simulation, where you are locked into using just martial arts users. Alkaiser will shine. He does have access to AoE farm, and he will not be the best one, but he offers good utility by mixing up many things, especially people that are starting the game and will get the free version of Alkaiser, getting many value out of this. If you already have red, it will offer you more damage, but don't expect a huge jump in damage. And then Emelia is better for those that skip it. Snowy, for example, they had gens. They both work with different things, but they can work together in, well, one for evasion strategies, another one for cleanse and heal. Emelia will help more for those that don't have many other options for cleanse. Then we have Zeke, that in my opinion is a meta character for specific scenarios. He's not a triple S character, none of them are, to be honest, but it does get used in boss fights a lot. Mei-Ling is the most skippable character here. If you are a veteran, they already have also, like I said, Snowy, and I don't know if you also have Halloween Princess White Rose. Emelia is not a must. In my opinion, the most interesting and unique characters are Alkaiser and Zeke, and if you get them pretty early, you can stop the banner. But if you need to just pity one of them, it will be a hard decision. But remember, we have only 10% chances of an off banner. This banner has 4 limited styles. So it's up to you. I'll also make the review of the next banner that will be released in some hours, and I'll be pulling here, like I said, for Alkaiser and Zeke. This banner receives a very high silver award. It's not exactly a gold like I did for Monica, because in Monica we had 5 characters, and I have to say that most of them were pretty nice, save for actor. Here we can skip Mei-Ling. We have 2 very good characters, one that's above average, and well, some people can still skip without feeling too much of a loss. But that's my opinion. What is yours? Please say here on the comment sections. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to support the channel, there are links in the description. I hope to see you soon in the next one.